Yo, what's up everybody? Trader Main back here with another episode of the altcoin review. Got a quick episode for you this week. Going to be covering 3 different altcoins. We're going to be looking at ALGO, we're going to be looking at DYDX, and we're going to be looking at XTZ. Yes, I said Z, not Z. I am Canadian, don't forget. Going to just kind of do the same thing we did last week when we covered Rune and FTT. We're going to be doing some top-down analysis on the 3 coins. So we'll start the high time frame, go down the low time frame. We'll cover some of the concepts we've discussed in previous videos, the ratios versus BTC, as well as order blocks, and hopefully give you guys some actionable information. Obviously, nothing I talk about here is financial advice. Put a big old disclaimer here. Please don't sue me, Mr. Gary Gensler. Just my opinion, my idea, how I think the charts look. I do think we're at an interesting point in the market. There's a lot of fundamental macro news that could potentially affect the market coming up. As you guys know, I'm a technical first trader. However, I don't completely ignore fundamentals. I do believe that most things that you need to know are going to be available in the chart. That's all you really need. But when you have things like, Bitcoin ETFs potentially being approved or denied in October, that's something you want to pay attention to. Obviously, the louder the SEC is getting with regards to talking about the taxation and regulation around crypto, it is something you want to pay attention to. From a technical perspective as well, you have the stock market continuing to go vertical, but potentially showing some signs of weakness. We don't know yet. How long can this thing continue to just go straight up? I'm not interested in calling a top, but I do know if it does top and we do see a correction, crypto being part of that risk asset basket, we could expect a correlated move down if we do see that type of pullback in the stock market. And then the strength of the US dollar itself, the DXY chart, not DYDX, but the DXY chart has been rallying, and there's an inverse correlation there. So as usual guys, this video is in partnership with Bybit. So right now you can take part in the Bybit launch pool. It started yesterday and it's going until October 13th. You can stake BIT token, BIT token, to earn BIT on the BFI Center. BIT is the native token of BitDAO, which is Binance's DAO to help support the promulgation of DeFi. So if you click the link in the description, it'll take you over there. Everything you need to know is on there. There's lots of money to be won, giveaways going on, and obviously you're staking, you're able to earn some of the highest APY in town. So if you're interested in learning a little bit more about that, check out the link in the description. You can win some free BIT by just signing up, and then you can stake that BIT to get even more BIT. It's like getting free money and then staking that free money to earn even more free money. It's amazing. Shout out to the Bybit team. If you have any questions, obviously let me know. All the info you need is in the link in the description. This edition of the altcoin review is also in partnership with Sensorium Galaxy. Senso token is the in-platform currency for Sensorium Galaxy. It's an AI-driven VR platform that you can interact with different people, experiences, art. They unite various conceptual worlds in a single VR environment and have some very cool partnerships with some of the biggest names in EDM like David Guetta, Eric Pides, and Carl Cox. So if you're interested in learning more about Senso and Sensorium Galaxy, I've left all of the info in the description. You can check them out on Twitter, Sensorium Galaxy and Senso Token. If you have any questions, of course, leave a comment below. With that out of the way, bills being paid, let's get over to the other camera. All right, guys, we've made it to the other camera here. So as I mentioned in the first part of the video, I'm going to give a quick kind of overview of the dollar index, because I'm sure you've seen a lot of people posting about the dollar index recently, being like, oh, the dollar is rallying, dollar strength, blah, blah, blah. I've been talking about this for years on Twitter, and the correlation between the dollar index and kind of macro trend changes within Bitcoin. And a lot of people like to say, oh, there's no correlation, or the correlation is spotty, or whatever. At the end of the day, the math is undeniable. There is an inverse correlation. It's not always going to be 1-to-1, but the dollar is the denominator of the fraction Bitcoin USD. So it would behoove you to look at the dollar, especially if you're kind of more of an investor or high time frame trader, when you're analyzing Bitcoin. And even on a day-to-day basis, it doesn't hurt to look at where the dollar is. And if you want a lot more info on this, first of all, the analysis and kind of way I explained how to look at ratios with regard to ETH and BTC applies to this directly. The math still works out the same way. It's just a fraction. Looking at the dollar here, this is the chart. You just type in on TradingView DXY. It's the US dollar index. Now, I posted this chart back in July when we reclaimed this order block here. I talked about a potential of a dollar rally to 94.50 and potentially up into some of this fair value gap here. And as you can see, we came in, tagged the order block, What is this? Bullish market structure, higher high, higher low. Boom, there's another higher high, and we've moved up, and this most recent move on the dollar has been met with what? Some downside in crypto. And you can literally line up the dates. So the dollar bottomed here on September 2nd. Let's do a little bit of side-to-side analysis. Where is September 2nd on this chart? Right here. So the dollar bottomed on September 2nd. Here's September 2nd. The dollar bottoms. Look at Bitcoin on September 2nd. Literally the next day it topped. This is an instance where the correlation has been, very clear and strong, right? It's not always going to be a one-to-one, but you can see, doesn't take a rocket scientist to see that there is a correlation here. Another example would be here. So let's look at the July up move on Bitcoin, right? Here's the correlation was weak, right? We had July Bitcoin very bullish, and the dollar also went up. So it's not always going to be a one-to-one correlation. However, if you look on the macro, you will see that more often than not, the major turns. I just showed you an example of a small trend change in the dollar correlating with a small trend change in Bitcoin. But on the macro perspective, you'll actually see that the correlation is very, very accurate for major shifts in the market. And I'll show you here. So look at the top of Bitcoin here. Top of Bitcoin was the 13th of April. Look at what happened to the dollar. That's the bottom. So the top of Bitcoin occurred, the dollar bottomed, the dollar rallied, Bitcoin dropped. Again, it's not going to be one-to-one to the exact day always, but major trend shifts, you will often see this inverse correlation be very strong. Look at when Bitcoin started the bull run. The 16th of March, 2020, Bitcoin bottomed out, the COVID bottom. Look what happened to the dollar. The top. Bitcoin went on an absolute screamer of a rally. The dollar absolutely nuked. Okay? We can go back. Look at the top of the 2017 bull market. Okay? What happened to the dollar? Here's the top of the 2017 bull market on Bitcoin as shown on the dollar. Inverse, right? And the same goes for the beginning of the bull run, right? So when this bull run really started going, what happened to the dollar? The dollar topped, it crashed, Bitcoin rallied. The dollar bottomed, it rallied, Bitcoin topped, and it crashed. The correlation is there, definitely something to pay attention to, and hopefully this is a little quick explainer so you guys can understand when everyone's talking about the dollar. This is the chart they're talking about. This is why you want to pay attention to it. This is also going to be correlated to equities and to other currencies and to gold and silver and shit like that. Hopefully that helps you guys, but as usual, I was talking about it first on Twitter. No one else. Fuck what anyone else says. I'm just kidding, obviously. So let's get into the altcoins. So we're going to start with Algorand. We're going to go at these at hyper speed. As I talked about kind of quickly in the first part of the video, we do have these macro kind of fundamental catalysts, the dollar rally, the stock market. We can look at the stock market and say, okay, is this thing finally ready for a correction? Right? We talked about this in my stream. I said it has to get above this level to be bullish, and you can see it came up. Perfect rejection of what? This is just a bearish order block. Up candle before a down move that broke market structure, pull back, sell off. This is kind of my bull bear line on stocks here right now. Get above here, the party continues, stay below here, and we're probably going to go and trade to this low and maybe even lower. So if this rolls over, you bet Bitcoin's going to shit the bed. You bet Bitcoin's going to shit the bed. So something to be aware of. ETF announcements in October. If they get approved, obviously bullish. Q4 and October, historically bullish for Bitcoin. So we'll see. A lot is up in the air. As I'm about to talk about a bunch of altcoins here, I want you to be aware of some of those macro things I just mentioned here. Bitcoin is looking a little bit heavy. So we have to be aware that, if stocks roll over and things like that, Bitcoin could travel down here and then rally. Right? And then maybe we have a bullish Q4. But if it goes down here, it might not seem like that big of a deal, but all of these altcoin setups that we're going to talk about, if Bitcoin drops 10%, a lot of these altcoins are going to drop 10, 20, maybe even 30%. So keep that in mind. I would like everything to go up. Everything is better when everything is going up, but I just want you guys to be aware. Looking at ALGO here, obviously this thing's had a very nice rip. It's made a major structural change here on the high time frame. Looking at this thing here, I think we have a pretty clear SR level, based on the weekly, which is just these highs right here. Okay, so we've broken out. This is about as clean as you get on a retest in terms of where we wanting to look for a setup. And if you look to the left now, you can see we have an order block here that if you were to draw that in at a time, that's basically where we're sitting right now. We also have this order block right here. So Algorand on support. So if Bitcoin is able to catch a bid and rally, this is the area that I think, Algo would rally from. So looking at it, where is the setup? How do we get involved in this? Personally, I don't think this is a bad area to start looking for bidding, right? Like maybe we run these lows and then some sort of reclaim is your long, right? Because there's a lot of highs here that, this is like if this thing's able to break out, it's going to rally hard, right? It's going to run all of these highs. So I really want to see it hold above this, kind of 150 area effectively. We can dip into the gray box. This is an area where I'd look for support, right? A false breakdown, then a reclaim of that 152 level. Obviously a trend line breakout and retest could be a long opportunity, or you could wait for one of these highs to get reclaimed. The more conservative long is wait for one of these highs to get reclaimed like this, and then, target these highs here. The more aggressive long is, longing a dip into here or a reclaim here, something like that. This does look potentially like a descending triangle. If you want to, be a pattern trader like that, so be aware. If Bitcoin shits the bed, this is the type of chart that shits the bed out of this pattern to the downside. So there is some serious downside risk on a lot of these altcoins if Bitcoin is going to dump. But I want to talk about potential bullish setups, not bearish setups, because those aren't very fun. But this is where I want to see support hold, right? This is where I want to see the bidding occur between kind of 120 to 150. I want to see this block hold, and then I want to see a break of this high for confirmation that will likely take out all of these highs above. So that's what I'm looking at on Algo. Obviously, if we break down below here, the short setup that I'd be looking at is a play down into probably here. Right? On the weekly chart, we start closing below this 152 level and we're not showing strength here and Bitcoin is dumping. To me, the draw is this area here, this weekly order block. And again, like I said, if Bitcoin dumps 10%, a lot of these altcoins can dump 20%, 30%, higher beta plays to the downside than Bitcoin. So something to be aware. So if this 152 area doesn't hold, this 115 area down to about $1, which is that weekly order block, that's the next area of support I'd be watching on Algo on the downside. So DXDY, I uploaded a clip because we absolutely smashed this one out of the park in our last stream with the buys back here at 12, right? So I talked about this on my stream on September 19th. I said, if it comes down to this $12 area, this is where you want to look to get long. We had that $12 SR level. We also had this order block here. Basically as clean as you can get. Yeah, wicked below. Maybe you entered here and you put your stop here. And then you got stopped, right? If you had your stop right at the edge. When you see it rally like this, why don't you enter again here? That's why you aim for asymmetric risk reward. If you aim for a 2-to-1, you only have to be right 33% of the time to break even. Over 100 trades, if you get right 33 trades, you're breaking even at 2-to-1 risk reward. So it allows for you to get stopped out, right? If you get stopped out here, but you see that rally, that's the reaction you wanted, step back in. Because what I see here is a low form, break in market structure, a high, and then a higher low. So maybe you get stopped out on the first trade, you're out for 1R, but then the next trade you're in, you're targeting here, you make 3R. All of a sudden, you made 2R net minus the 1R that you lost on the stop out, right? So it's okay to get stopped out and enter again if you think your idea is wrong. We nailed this one pretty good, getting in at that $12 area. I say we as if I took the trade. I didn't because I'm an idiot, but that played out beautifully, and this has been one of the strongest performers in the market. It's up 13% today, so it's looking good. This is trending extremely strong. What would I be doing to look to get in? I would be looking for any sort of dip into this support area here, right? Previous SR, right? So resistance here, now support, also a order block here. This is where you want to look to buy this thing. Will it give you the dip? I don't know. People told me it wasn't going to give us the dip here, and then it did. This is a very strong trending asset right now. If Bitcoin corrects, maybe this thing dumps 20% and you get some really nice stink bids at the $20 area. I don't know. That's what I'd be looking for on this thing. Zooming in, even on the H4, there's still no support until we're down into this 12-hour order block here, around $21. This is a very shallow dip. I wouldn't have bought this. I don't know. Maybe there's something on the hourly here. I guess it's kind of a retest of that hourly order block, potentially. Not quite. I'm waiting for here. I'm not chasing this. I'm waiting for down here if it gives. That's just me personally. If you want to try and get in on a lower time frame retest, be my guest. In terms of trying to pick the top on this thing, don't do it. Rather, let it show you that it doesn't want to go up anymore. If we lose this, right? come down, you could short a retest, but realize that we've got pretty strong support here. So you're not targeting 0, you're targeting that pullback here into that 12-hour order block, which is going to be support. Still a nice trade, but I wouldn't just try and short this thing. I'd wait for it to show you that it wants to go down by breaking some kind of market structure, because for now the market structure is extremely bullish. If you go down to the low time frame, I mean, it remains extremely bullish. This could potentially be a lower high here relative to this, but again, I would wait and see. Okay, if it breaks this low, okay, now I'm looking to short some sort of pullback. But for now, I'm not in the business of trying to say, okay, that's the top, let me just short this thing right here with my stop here, because it could just put in another leg, right? You don't know. Don't call tops on hard trending assets. Rather, let it break market structure, tell you it wants to go down, and then get involved, right? So that's the plan on DYDX there. This is where I'd be looking to buy the dip. XTZ. I just said Z. Oh my God, my Canadian ancestors are gonna sewer me. XTZ, Tezos. So looking at Tezos here on the H12, I believe we're coming into support here. So we have this kind of bullish H12 range here, right? We have a low, higher high, potential for a higher low here. Here's an H12 breaker right here, and we're within the lower part of the range. We're within the discount of the range. We're within that OTE, that sweet spot. We tap the 6.2. We tap the 7.5. So if this thing is going to catch a bid, this is where you want to see it happen. Personally, with the uncertainty on Bitcoin right now, I'm not just blindly bidding this thing. I want to see some bullishness form here, maybe on the lower time frame, maybe see Bitcoin catch a bit of a bid as well. But this is where, just like on ALGO, where I want to see it get bullish here, exact same thing here. This is where I want to see this thing catch a bid. If it's going to go up, I want this to be a higher low forming here with a target of here, right? Your risk is either below the breaker or below here. So let's see if that plays out. If this thing trades down and starts closing below the 510 mark, the 7.9, I think there's a good chance we trade down into this low. And that'd be confluent with Bitcoin probably rolling over as well. So hopefully this was informative for you guys. Hope you enjoyed. If you have any questions, as usual, let me know. We'll catch you back on the other camera there. Thanks. All right, guys, that's all I got for you in this week's video. I hope you enjoyed. So we covered those 3 altcoins. I also gave you guys a brief overview of the dollar index and why I think it can be a relevant metric to add to your analysis when looking at Bitcoin from a more macro perspective as opposed to kind of day-to-day edge. If you're liking these videos, please do me a big favor. Leave a like, leave a comment, share the video with your friends and family, follow me on Twitter, join my Discord, hit the notification bell, like, subscribe, all that fun YouTube stuff, because we are on the same mission as we were last week. We're trying to take over the world, and that world being a very round-shaped man named BitBoy. So if you have any questions, suggestions for next week's video, leave those in the comments. Other than that, I'm signing off. Talk to you guys soon. Thanks so much.